Hi guys, and welcome to my review of the Suzuki Across, whatever you want to call it. What is a Suzuki Across? Well, it's a cross between a Suzuki and a Toyota, if you like. Actually, the more astute of you will know that this is in fact the Toyota RAV4 rebadged as a Suzuki. It gives Suzuki a foothold into sort of the more luxurious end of the market. In other markets, this would be considered a small, medium, compact SUV. Here, it's a kind of medium to largish SUV. They've redone the front of the car, so obviously Suzuki badge, different grille, different headlights, but pretty much the rest of the car is the same. I have reviewed the RAV4, and you can see the review in the link I think up here, and I'll put it in the description below as well. Now, the Suzuki Across is a hybrid, and this car comes, it's a similar drivetrain to the Toyota. So it comes with a 4-cylinder engine producing about 185 horsepower, about 227 newton meters of torque. Gives it a 0 to 60 miles per hour time of 6 seconds and a top speed of 112 miles per hour. They claim a miles per gallon combined fuel consumption figure of 42.9. I've seen over 45 already on a long journey, so that's easily doable. It's a plug-in hybrid, so again, I always have my issues with plug-in hybrids, but when you plug it in, you charge it up, you get about, 25-30 miles of range or so, and that basically gives you EV motoring around town. Now, the thing about this car is that you think, well, it's a Toyota RAV4 with a Suzuki badge. Does that mean that I get one of these, I save a little money? Well, not necessarily, because it's only about $1,000 cheaper than the equivalent Toyota RAV4, if you like, or so. It is, and I hope you're sitting down for this, £45,000 plus for this, which makes it, of course, the most expensive Suzuki that you can buy here in the UK, and actually quite a premium level pricing for even this segment, in fact, I would say. The next most expensive Suzuki is also a Toyota-based Suzuki. That's the Toyota Sways, which is the Corolla Estate, or their rebadged version of the Corolla Estate. That's at £25,000, and the good old Vitara is under £20,000. So you really have to think about those numbers before you decide to opt for one of these. But you do get a different character to this Toyota RAV4, if you like, by having a Suzuki badge on it. Does it feel like a Suzuki? Well, we'll talk about that more when we get to drive the car. But before that, although I've looked at the RAV4 before, I will just quickly look at the practicality of this, including the boot, the rear, and the interior, the front, before taking it for a drive. But before we do any of that, make sure that you're subscribing to youtube.com/browncarguy. Follow me on browncarguy.com, and on all the socials, just search for my hashtag, which of course is #BrownCarGuy. And if you enjoy my content, then please consider supporting me on patreon.com/BrownCarGuy. Cool, let's get into this. So let's check out the boot. It is a power tailgate, as you'd expect at this level of pricing. Across plug-in hybrid, and one side is fuel and the other side you actually plug it in. So you get, as you would expect, a pretty generous boot with 60/40 split folding seats. You get 490 liters of space. Fold the seats down, you get 1,168 liters of space. This bag here is not my laptop case, in case that's what you're thinking. In fact, this is the case that they provide to hold the cable should you want to plug it in at home. So that's what that is. Underneath here you have another cable, in fact, in there, and you have a space saver or temporary spare wheel, although it is the correct size and stuff, and you have a toolkit as well. So that's pretty much all you get back here. You obviously get lights and there's a power supply. There's actually a plug socket, in fact, so that's a proper power supply back there, and also hooks as well to hold your stuff down. So that's the boot. That's what the boot space is like. Pretty generous in the Across. Is the rear space as generous as we would imagine it to be? I suspect it is, but let's just check it out anyway. Here we go, and just as I expected, it's a very generous rear cabin actually. That driver's seat is set for me. I'm 6'2" with long legs, and as you can see, I've got tons of room to spare, both for my knees, shins, and plenty of wiggle room for my feet as well. It's interesting, this center transmission tunnel is quite wide and it's got a plasticish cover on top of it, but still not unreasonable if you did have to carry a third passenger here in the middle. I think it would be possible. You get 2 USB points here, which is actually really good and quite good for kids, and a good feature to have. There's vents down here as well. You actually appear to have heated seats in the back. That's an unusual feature. I've not seen that very often, but again, you're paying your money, so you get a few extra features, which is including heated rear seats, as well as obviously power windows and all the rest of it. You of course get an armrest with 2 cup holders and Isofix chassis anchor points and some nice red and black trim. This trim is replicated in the front, and I think it's time to get into the front. Here we are in the Suzuki A-Cross. So let's start it up. You can see it. The instrument panel in the middle is digital, and you've got these kind of analog dials on the side. Big screen there. Like I said, it will be very familiar to people that own a Toyota RAV4. You get a Suzuki symbol that comes up there, and this is all configurable from remotes here, so you can scroll through the various options on your instrument panel here, including it shows you what's doing the driving, so the battery or the engine is just started up, and as you can see, the EV range is 0 at the moment because I've used up all the electricity. It's a plug-in hybrid. And you can also have your eco score, your driving time. It tells you how efficiently you're driving and all the rest of it. Fuel temperature, and this is the indicator that tells you whether you are using engine power, eco, when you're actually charging the battery, i.e. when you're braking or regen. It comes into activation when you're slowing down and braking. This is your regular screen. It's the usual. I'm not going to go too much into it. It's got Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, all the rest of it. So I mixed those two up, but there you go, Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. AC, heated seats down here. That's a blanked out button for some reason. And you got traction off button there. You have got a USB point there and a power charging there as well. In addition, this is the automatic, and you do have sports mode, eco mode, and push it down for normal mode. I haven't really used sports as much because this is not really the sort of car where you would need that. And trail for off-roading. This of course is an all-wheel drive. EV auto hold and EV charge. I'll talk about those on the go. There's a little tray there. Nicely, there's a little tray here as well. It's all nicely finished as you'd expect. There's more of the red on black, as I mentioned there. Suzuki logo in the steering wheel, and of course you have a decent sized cubby box with a removable tray and another power supply in there, so you won't be short of power in this car. It's very well equipped, as I mentioned. E4 4x4 system, so it's actually E4 4x4 system. It's got SOS emergency call as well on here. It's got radar, active radar, cruise control on the thing, hill hold assist, stop start, so it turns the engine off, PCS pre-collision, automatic high beam, lane departure, all of that stuff is there. Vehicle stability control, all of the safety features that you expect are all there. Keyless, of course, power tailgate, rear parking camera, of course, that comes up on the screen over there, and it tells you the area around you as well. The driving dial, the climate control, basically a 9-inch touchscreen DAB radio. It doesn't say how many speakers it's got, but it's got enough. The stereo is pretty loud, trust me, I've tried it, and of course the 19-inch alloy wheels. So that's all well and good. Let's see how this feels on the go. There we go, giving it some acceleration now in the Suzuki Across. Suzuki Across. It's not cross at all. It's actually quite genial and quite friendly. And very well composed. So now that we're on the move in the Suzuki A-Cross, does it feel like a Suzuki? No, it doesn't feel like a Suzuki. Suzukis do have quite a unique feel, as I've said before. There's something a little upstarty about them, something a little cheeky about them, but something quite delightfully engaging. This one, by comparison, feels far more grown up, far more sophisticated and mature, which of course makes sense, being that it's a Toyota, or has the underpinnings of a Toyota. and the overpinnings, whatever you like. And it's not far removed from that sensation. Let's get more into the technicalities of this car. So to sum up, what I'm saying is it basically drives just as you would expect it to drive. The ride is very well settled, it's very quiet, it's very refined. For a big car, it's very easy to place and to position and to drive around. I say big car, by some markets this is not a big car. By UK markets, this mid, maybe upper mid SUV size, but I would say mid in another markets would be lower to mid size, wouldn't it? Compact even. But over here, this feels like a biggish car. But having said that, it doesn't feel that makes it a problematic thing to drive, not at all. It's actually quite reasonable, quite easy to place, very, very sophisticated. Visibility all around is not a problem. Big old wing mirrors, massive wing mirrors, so they really help. And you can easily thread it through this very narrow village that I'm in at the moment, not proving to be a problem. The ride is mostly well settled. It's funny because the bigger bumps and the bigger ruts is stuff that it smothers and deals with very well, and the smaller stuff that it kind of picks up and lets you know about. As you can see, it's raining, and it started to rain a bit heavily now. But again, I'm in an all-wheel drive car, so it shouldn't really pose any kind of a significant problem whatsoever. Putting the power down, it just settles down very much. I just felt a slight bit of torque steer, but I was putting the power down in a slight mid-bend there. But other than that, it's not really a problem. Performance is always there, not an issue at all. Brakes are good, linear, but quite resistive, so they give you a little bit of feedback in that sense, but they're very reassuring. And we are now motoring along in the wet on some twisty P roads, and I have to say, it's not posing a problem at all. Is it fun? About as fun as you would expect in a car like this. We're not talking a sports car in any sense, we're not even talking a sports SUV, but for a car like this, and to be able to just turn it in sharpish and found that actually it responded a little bit better than I anticipated, is not a bad thing at all. So in that sense, it's pretty good. So overall, the drive, now let's get into the technicalities of it a little bit, because what I've been finding, because this being the plug-in hybrid, and of course obviously I've since depleted the plug-in aspect of it, which out here wouldn't have made any sense anyhow. But around town when I first got it, I think it had about 25 plus miles of charge range on it, and it pretty much only used that. I didn't see the petrol mileage range drop at all. I think it stayed pretty much consistent. Because it wasn't using that. Around town it was using that, and of course there are modes here and stuff like that, but also you can hold the charge, so you can tell it not to use the electricity because you're going to enter a city or a town, and you know that then you can deploy it. You can also leave it in auto and it will just do that for you. I've just left everything in auto, not even use sports mode. I don't think it's really relevant to a car like this. But that seemed to work really well, where it was just whispering around town and just using up all the juice. But now that it's used up all the juice, so far it hasn't recovered any of it, so it hasn't given me any mileage back. So I think that essentially what that means is that I have to now plug this in to get any charge back. That's the only way to now get any EV mileage back into it, is to plug it in, because so far I'm not recouping anything. Having said that, I've just done a long trip, so I'm up in Leamington Spa, driven up from northwest London, and it's showing me 45 miles per gallon, so that's really good. So, and the fuel thing has barely moved. It's just used just under a quarter tank at most, I think, and I'm not quite sure if it was entirely full. So economy wise it's pretty good, practicality wise it's very good, handling, driving, it's very easy to drive, very easy to place, not an issue at all, and even in conditions like this, on roads like this, it's a very reassuring drive as well. So all round, thumbs up for this car. Let me know what you think of it in the comments above below elsewhere, and I'll catch you again in the next one. A big thank you to my top tier patron and sponsor Jay Williams over Air Technic. Check out their shop for brakes, exhaust, body kits, and of course suspension. Plus thanks to Muhammad Ali Ahmed and Tom Conway Gordon, who are both tier 4 patrons, and of course all of these guys for also subscribing to my Patreon account and contributing so much towards helping me to continue creating this content. Join them over at patreon.com/browncarguy, and of course make sure that you are subscribing, liking and sharing this channel. Hit that bell notification icon so so you don't miss any of my videos. And also check out browncarguy.com and follow me on all social media channels. Just search for my hashtag, which of course is #BrownCarGuy.